Hello.
Hi, Scotty. Hi, Daryl.
Kind of dark.
Hi, Scotty.
Hello. All right. So, what have we got, Joan? You got anything this evening?
Uh, Basically, one question. I went to the Genius Bar today. I had two kind of minor issues, and they solved both of them, so I'm fine.
Oh, good.
This is a little hard to explain, and I know that you don't do Facebook, but it's not really a Facebook question. It's just something I'm doing wrong.
Okay.
If I go into Facebook and somebody sends me a link, I click the link open, read what it is, and then there's no back button. So I have to hit the red button, which takes me out of the link and out of Facebook, and then I have to enter Safari again. Now, this isn't just Facebook. This happens when people send links. There isn't always a back button, so I'm doing something the hard way.
Well, if I send you a link in an email and you click that link, it opens up into a web page in your default browser, in your case, Safari. Now, there's not going to be a back button because that's the first page that you're visiting within that browser window session. Now, if within that link, or if within that web page, let's say I send you a link to CNN.com, all right? So you open that page up, CNN.com, and let me go to, well, actually this wouldn't really make sense. Let's say I send you a link to my website because that's the page that just came up. Now, I do not have a back button because there is no back history. I've not created any history yet. Now, as soon as I click a link, now I'm one page farther. Now I have a back button. Does that make sense so far?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
But that doesn't always happen. Usually it's just one link, I read it, and then it's like 3 steps backwards, and I have to get into Safari.
Isn't Facebook a web page?
Yes. So what you might want to do is but she's saying they send you a link within Facebook. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
All right. So what you need to figure out is when somebody sends you a link, let's say here's a link. And it can be any link. It's not just Facebook. But yeah, Daryl's right. It's just a web page. So I was thinking something else. If you right click, then you have choices to open that link either in a new window or a new tab. And that might be what you want to do. So if you open the link, let's say, I'm on a Facebook scroll here. Here's my Facebook scroll, and I get to a link that someone has sent me. I'm going to do a right click, and I'm going to choose what I want to do with that as far as opening it. Do I want to open it into a completely different window, which may be what you want to do, read what you got to do, and then close it, and it doesn't disturb the whole rest of your other browsing session? Or I could open it into another tab. And if I open it into another tab, now I have 2 different tabs. Basically, it's a new window just within a tab.
Scotty, I think that's the key, and it happens to me all the time. I forget that there's tabs,
Yeah.
and because there's no back button,
Correct.
I'm pointing to it. Look to me how stupid I am.
Well,
Because there's no back button, then I look for a tab, and I scroll over and I delete the tab, and
Yeah.
then my Facebook page is still there. And it happens to me all the time, and I think that's what's happening to Joe.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So if you clicked a link, Joan, in the Facebook feed and it opened up into a new tab, then that new tab is open and there's no back button in that. And then by closing, you might actually be getting rid of the real tab that you were on. So just check that out and see if that happens.
Okay, so do a right click.
Yeah. Well, no, you can, let me go and show you. Let's see. Clicking on here. You can go into your web page, your Safari preferences, and you can look at Safari opens in a new window. But down here, let's see, where is it? When opening a new page, there's a setting somewhere in here. New windows, open with homepage, new tabs, open with top sites. There's a page to click on a link. It does something. It opens. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Under the tabs key, clicking option click link. No. When whichever window opens, make it active. I'm trying to think if there was a setting for that. Well, anyway, short answer is just do a right click on it and then choose to do what you want to do.
Okay,
And
thank you.
see if it's creating a tab. Daryl, what have you got this evening?
Can you show us a little bit about the new radio?
iTunes Radio? Yeah. I like it. I use it a lot. I've been listening to it quite a bit over the last several days, or the last couple weeks anyway, and it starts to repeat things. But iTunes Radio is embedded into your music player. So all of your music that you have in iTunes, on your phone that is, it's in the now red icon, or sort of pinkish orangish red. So you go to the music player, and iTunes has really thrown this in the front of us. It's really kind of put this way ahead. So by default, or the first button on the bottom left, there's the radio button, and these are stations that I've created here. But if I really want to get to my music, I have to look around to get to my music. I have to actually click my playlists, and then I can see my actual music. But I'm going to go back to radio because that's the question you're asking about. So back up to the top, they've got some stations that they've created saying, hey, you might be interested in these types of stations, but I'm more interested in my own type of music. So if I'm listening, say for instance, in one of my songs, let me go find one of my, and here's, I'll just go find something that looks normal. Okay, here's Sheryl Crow. So I'm listening to Sheryl Crow. This is a song that I own. I believe that I have the ability, in the bottom down there it says create. So I could create a station from a song that I own. Now if I create a station from that song, or that artist, let's say, I'm going to say the artist. Now that's going to take me to the iTunes Radio, and now I have a station based on iTunes Radio, even though I own this song. So there's something to distinguish here. I've created a radio station around a song that I own. So I'm going to go back to the radio now. Now, once I get to that radio station, now when I fast forward, I'm inside the radio. And I know that I'm inside the radio because there's a price tag up at the top if I want to buy this song. And now here's where it looks just like Pandora, basically. I can listen.
That's my question.
Yeah, it's Pandora. It's Apple's version of Pandora is all it is. Except they want to keep you, it's like a casino. If you go to Vegas, there are no windows because they want to keep you in the casino. They don't want you to know what time it is. And iTunes realizes if I go outside of Pandora, if I go outside to listen to music in Pandora, I'm outside their little ecosystem. So I could buy that song from them. Now I have the ability to forward, I think it's 6 or 7 times. I don't own this song, but it's a song like Sheryl Crow. Probably a female that plays guitar is basically the parameters there. And eventually, if I keep going through this, and eventually I'm going to get to a point where it's going to stop allowing me to fast forward. Now, I've gotten to that part. There's Fiona Apple, and I own that song. I actually do own that song, but I'm in the iTunes Radio, so I don't want to buy it again. But now I can't fast forward anymore because I went through that list. Now the way around that is just go create a new station for yourself. All right, does that kind of give you some information? Is there certain questions that you might have?
How about all the free music that I used to listen to on Pandora?
Oh yeah, that's the same. And iTunes Radio is free. So they're just competitive services.
Okay, so where do I listen to the free music?
Well, you'd use the Pandora app if you like Pandora. You'd use the radio app if you like iTunes Radio. So if I want to go over to Pandora, there's Pandora on the P. Now I'm in Pandora, which is a whole different place than iTunes. And now see here, I've got this big ad. Right? I don't want to see the ad. I want to get right to the music. So there was some music I was listening to. And here Pandora gives you thumbs up, thumbs down. iTunes Radio doesn't give you a thumbs down. It's just different philosophies, different approaches. But I still have the same forward only a certain number of times before they stop allowing me to forward. But above all that, I've got Pandora. I can quickly listen to random music that I'm not in control of. I have iTunes Radio that I can listen to music that I'm not in control of. Or I have Spotify, which is what I always listen to. And Spotify's on my front page. And Spotify, I have to pay. It's not Pandora based. I have to pay $8 a month. But then I have a very large collection of the world's music. And
Did you purchase?
No, that I have access to. So you pay a Netflix subscription to have access to their library, their streaming library. Not every movie in the world is in Netflix by any means, streaming that is. Spotify is the same way. Name somebody, Daryl. Name a musician that's somebody that you like.
Neil Diamond.
Whoa, where did? Let me let me see if I can pull this up. For some reason, you guys lost seeing my screen there. Let me see if I can get it back. There. Okay. I'm not sure when that fell off, but I'll go to Spotify here. Now, I don't own any Neil Diamond, Daryl, but I have Spotify. So if I spell it correctly, Neil Diamond, and I'm not doing a very good job of spelling here, Diamond. All right. Okay, now there's Neil Diamond. Now remember, this is not Pandora where I can listen to music like Neil Diamond, and it has that feature. But here are the most popular songs, and here are many of his albums. Maybe there's a specific album that you have, and here's pretty much almost every album that Neil Diamond was ever a part of. So I'm going to listen to the Gold album from Neil Diamond, and it's going to pull up every one of those songs, and I can start listening to the first song. And if I don't like the first song in the album, I go to the second song in the album, or the third song, or the fourth, and I can just do this all day. So I have access for about $8 a month to pretty much the world's music collection. So I stopped buying music quite some time ago, and I just pay Spotify. Something to think about.
Okay, but you can't go to Apple Radio and do the same thing.
Well, with Apple Radio, you cannot specifically choose an album and specifically choose the next song and the next song and the next song. iTunes Radio is exactly like Pandora, where they say, well, you pick your first song. Oh, Bob Dylan, Rolling Like a Rolling Stone. Yeah, we have that. You can listen to it. The next song is not going to be Bob Dylan. The next song is going to be Neil Young. Well, I don't like Neil Young. Well, too bad. So, you fast forward and you go to somebody else.
If you pick a genre, you're okay, but if you pick an artist, you're not.
Yeah, if you pick a genre, it's going to give you a generality. Janis Joplin, somewhere around that area. If you pick Frank Sinatra, you're going to hear Sammy Davis Jr., you're going to hear some of the Rat Pack, but you're not going to hear Frank Sinatra after Sinatra after Sinatra after Sinatra tune. You're going to hear some Tony Bennett mixed in that. Whereas with Spotify, if I want to listen to Frank Sinatra, I go type in Frank Sinatra, I choose the album, I listen to the entire album. Because I'm paying for that, versus iTunes Radio, I'm not paying anything for. Pandora, I'm not paying anything for. All right?
Okay.
Emma Day, what have you got for me?
I was just wondering how much Spotify costs.
It's $8 and some change a month. So let's round it up to $9 a month.
So you get it through iTunes?
No,
Is it on all your devices?
you download it through the App Store. You can go to Spotify.com and download the actual computer version if you want to, and there are a lot of people that do that. Or you go to the App Store and download the Spotify app. Just like you might download, see the apps that I have on my page. I have a Twitter app that I downloaded. I have an eBay app that I downloaded from the App Store. And I also have a Spotify app that I downloaded from the App Store. Now, once I download that, if I want to use it, I have to pay money. I have to pay them to use that. They have a free service, but I want to pay for Spotify. All right?
But does it come through from your computer to your phone to your iPad?
It does. You can have Spotify on all your devices. So I might have their Spotify down here. It's in my dock on the computer. So I've got Spotify here. I could open up Spotify, and if I did, I'm scared because I've got this computer that's so slow and everything. But Spotify, once it opens, you will see it looks a little bit like iTunes. Now, hopefully it remembers my login, because I don't remember my login with Spotify right now. But it looks a little bit like iTunes. It's like a dark gray version of iTunes. See, here I am. And it syncs all the playlists that I listen to, everything within the Spotify app. See how it kind of has these over here on the side? So yeah, here's the Dexy's Midnight Runners I wanted to listen to not too long ago. And I didn't own that, so I went and searched for it, and in Spotify, and it found it. So it's just taking a little long to load. I'll let that cook on the bottom. But yeah, I really like Spotify. Now, if I stop paying for Spotify, I can no longer listen to their catalog. You know, it's just like Pandora. Emma, did you have another question? I'll point out if this ever loads up. Well, pick one. You have one question you want to hit?
I'm very confused about this new setup with the new, whatever it is, it uploaded.
iOS 7?
And I lost my maintenance, but I had to call Apple Care and get that back set up again. And I don't know what happened. Whether it was because I got the new setup of iOS or because I did something. I don't know what it did. You have to have the same incoming and outgoing mail set, right?
Oh, okay. So something happened with the mail server, you said. The mail server settings. So yeah, that can be really confusing to people. I wish that it was really easy to just set your mail up, and usually it is. So here I am in my mail, and this is my mail program, and I have multiple accounts here. I have my business account, I have an iCloud account, and I have a Gmail account. Now, each of those has its own little settings for how the mail goes out and how the mail comes in. And those are called incoming and outgoing mail servers. Gmail likes certain words. They want to know your password for the account. They have certain ports that they go through. So it sounds like something happened and your incoming and outgoing servers settings got messed up. Are we on the same page so far?
I think so. If I updated it, you didn't have to reset it up.
You shouldn't. No, an update should not cause something like that. It is common for your mail server to kind of fall off for a little bit of time. I wouldn't be surprised if I was sitting with you right now and I look over at my Gmail and all of a sudden next to my Gmail account over here, I have a little lightning bolt. And that I don't have it right now, but if I had a little lightning bolt, we've all seen it, that little lightning bolt. And what that means is your email program, the Stamp, Apple's mail program, is making a call up to Gmail. Hey Gmail, we need the mail. Would you please give it to us? And Gmail says, we can't get it to you right now. Something's wrong. And then 2 minutes later, the mail program says, hey, I need the email. And Gmail from the cloud says, okay, here it is. So oftentimes things fall off and they just come right back on again. I'm not sure what happened with yours. And the other thing is that sometimes when you get this error, you get a message that drops down. And that really confuses people because normal people don't know what a SMTP and IMAP and all these words mean, and they just see this dialog box, and then they start going around and clicking, and they end up messing things up. What were you going to say, Daryl?
I said, Joe knows all that stuff.
Yeah? Well, a lot of us geeky people, like the people in this meeting tonight, we learn the hard way. You know, we dig around for ourselves. But if you're curious about this Emma Day, and you wanted to learn more about it, in your mail program, and I emphasize the Stamp, you check your mail with, I call it the Stamp, because there's a stamp icon in the dock. That has a set of settings. And where I find those settings is under the word mail in the menu bar. I go up to the top here and I select Preferences. Now once I get to Preferences in mail, I have all my accounts. And over here to the right, those are all those settings that you were thinking about. So let's just look at the Gmail settings. If, for instance, this is the most common thing that happens. Somebody forgets their password. And they go to the website, www.website.com, or in this case, gmail.com, and they change their password. Almost everybody thinks that once they change their password, all of their devices should just know it. Like your computer should just know what the password is. But that's not it. We actually have to go in and say, you know what? I changed that password. Now here is my new password. And not only do we really need to put it in here, but that's the incoming mail server in a day. There's actually an outgoing mail server down here. And we have to put the password in here, and I'll show you where that is. under the outgoing mail server. If we click on it and we have to edit the SMTP server list, this is just such a... Computers will be easier than this in the coming years. But I then would go to advanced, and this is... Oh, that's not even mine. I need to get rid of that. That's where I would put in my password is in there. So it can be really confusing. Is everything working now? Say it again.
Oh, I hope so. I haven't had time to get on my email. I just talked to him yesterday, but I messed up something a few weeks ago, and I've spent all day out there.
Yeah.
And they set up my time machine on my backup. Thank goodness the week before I had gotten that Seagate backup, but they didn't put it on both of them, on the Seagate and the time machine. I mean the time capsule. They didn't know that I could use both of them, so I don't know if I've got it on both of them or just the Seagate.
Okay. Well, that's probably the type of thing that I would help you out with in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Emide, to your defense, you've really been able to use AppleCare, and that they've helped you. The problem with using something like that with AppleCare is there are a lot of ways to fix a problem. Just like there's a lot of ways to clear some land. I think in analogies all the time, and this has happened with you a couple of times, Emide, and it bothers me that they go down this path with you. But what happens is you might call AppleCare for a small problem that they work with you and they can't really figure out. So instead of going a little bit farther and trying to figure out that problem, they decide to lay waste. And they erase the computer and they start you up with the time machine back up again. Yeah, and this has happened to you a couple of times, I think. So...
They don't want to admit they don't know the answer.
Right.
So they'll, after a while, they pass you to somebody else.
Right.
That you have to start over with.
Yeah. And your computer vocabulary is not what they're hoping it would be, and nobody's is. You know, it's not you. It's the person that you're working with might not have the skill to be able to translate what you're telling them into what the actual problem is. So oftentimes they think that the problem is something way more than it is, but I guarantee you that almost every problem that you've had in a day has not been a major problem. It's been a small problem that could have been solved very strategically and surgically, but instead they just erased your computer and had you recover from time machine, and that bothers me when you've told me that that's happened in the past, and I know it's happened several times. So just let me know next time, and I'll try to help you a little bit better. I don't mean to try to take business away from AppleCare. Say that again? Oh yeah. I'm fine. So just schedule your session, and I'll be there. I've got times tomorrow if you need me. All right. Back up to Joan. Joan, do you have another question? Anything else?
No, just I was very proud of myself last week. A friend of ours bought his first MacBook Pro, and he brought it over, and I was able to set it all up and get him real happy about it. So I was very proud of myself, and I thank you for a lot of my knowledge.
All right. Well, tell him to join us. I tell people every time I walk out the door at a client, I tell them, and I do town hall on Mondays, and I tell them I'm tired of talking to the same old people. Yeah, we need some new faces. And
he's insulting us, Daryl.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I mean, nobody else.
John, thanks for all that help on my new MacBook Pro.
Ah!
That's funny.
Daryl, did you have anything else on your mind?
I got something, Scotty.
All right, let's hear it.
Mail notification.
Yeah.
I get mail in, I get a little notification up on the top right-hand corner of my screen.
Okay. Are you talking about your computer or iOS 7?
The computer.
Okay, and are you talking about Gmail account?
Yes.
Okay, so when you said top right-hand corner of your screen, like I've got some weird things up here in the top right-hand area of my menu bar. Are you talking about...
A pop-up comes up, it says mail.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
And then it goes away.
Yes.
It goes away too quick.
Hmm.
Before I can get over there and read it.
the biggest complaint that I get from people is they don't want to see that. You're saying it doesn't last long enough. So I don't know if there's a timing setting, but that's in notifications. So if we go to system preferences and we look at notifications, I don't know if there's a length of time. I don't see a time setting there as far as how long it stays up.
Would it be in mail?
No, it's in the notification center. It's in system preferences, notifications. It's a badge. That's called a no, not in mail, in system preferences. So on my screen,
Mail in system preferences.
no.
Notification.
No, well, you go to system preferences first, then you go to the notifications area, then you go to mail. Yeah. And then you choose what you yeah, and you choose that. But yeah, and you choose which one you want it to be as a pop-up, but it won't there's no way to say I would like it for longer than this period of time. In other words, it goes up for, let's say, 5 seconds and then it goes away again. There's no time setting on that I know of. Now, I'm sure
Just have to be quicker.
well, I'm sure, Daryl, if you did some research, you could find the line of code that's in a plist file somewhere that you could edit. I'm not saying this is jokingly. I think you could actually do this. You could find the line of code to where it sets it as like 5 seconds, and you could lengthen that. Although that's tampering a little bit with the operating system, and you'd have to be a little bit careful about it. But I'm sure that there is a preference list in your computer somewhere that says once that pops up, leave it up for this amount of time and then close it. You would need to find the script or the plist file that's associated to that. That would be a high level thing to do.
So I would like Google extend notification time.
Length. Yeah. And you know what? Probably by now there may even be a little third-party program that allows that to happen on its own, that someone has already kind of put that together, or hide them all the way. There's probably, like have you ever heard of Tinker Tool, Onyx, Cocktail?
Scotty, I like to go original equipment. You know that.
Yeah, I do too. And believe me, I make a pretty good living off of people that install these things on their computers and just click, and all of a sudden have cluttered everything in the world. That's why I never open up Firefox on a person. If that Firefox is their default browser, if I sit down on a person's computer, I always go to Safari, even if they don't use it, because Firefox probably has 14 plugins that they've installed, and the weather pop app, and the temperature, and the Facebook plugin. I don't want to deal with all that. I want to know what works, not what they've broken. So yeah, I'm with you on that. But there's probably a little piece of software out there that will extend that time, I bet. All right, Emma Day, do you have?
Are you talking about computer?
Oh.
Or the phone?
Oh, the computer. We're talking about on the computer. Apple is trying to make your computer a little bit more like your phone. And you know how on your phone, when something happens, you see a little thing that pops up on your screen sometimes. Well, Apple said, well, let's take that idea of popping something up on the screen and let's move it to the computer as well. And the way that we adjust those settings is in the system preferences of your computer under notifications. They're called notifications.
Right now, as I'm looking at my screen, the spotlight in the corner is the list of the latest mails. So if I click on that list, they stay open until I close it.
That's right. So that's a good point. And these two things are very similar. The little icon in the top right-hand corner of your screen brings up all of your important little things that are happening. So, and I've got right there at the very top, I have to show my to show those notifications, whether I want those notifications on or not. To just turn off. I clicked a calendar. Sorry about this. It drives me crazy. This old computer. So yeah, that's taking all the notifications that I've gotten, and it puts them into one nice little area that I can work with. The same thing is true on your phone. On your phone, there is an area just like that, and that's the notification center. If I take my finger at the very top and I pull down from the phone, then I have basically the exact same thing. I have some phone calls that I missed. I have some little alerts there. That's the notification center on your phone versus the notification center on your computer. They're basically the same thing. All right?
What about when you upload, do you have to do it the same thing, the pictures and the photos and all that stuff to get back what you had?
Well, the question that you just asked, Imade, I'm not finding a relationship to what we were just talking about. So I think you may have jumped to a new subject. You're talking about uploading pictures?
Get it. I'll ask you.
Okay. All right. But you're all right. Well, does anybody have another question they want to hit then? Yes, Daryl.
How do I hide my toolbar on the bottom?
You mean the dock?
Yeah.
Okay, it's in the dock preferences in system. In system preferences under dock, there's an ability to hide and show dock. So if you turn that off or turn it on, it'll either stay up or it'll disappear. So there's mine.
What row was that on?
It's first row, third item, and you can choose that. All right. Next question. Somebody got another question? Imade, did you want to go back and ask about that download question you had?
Yes, I'm just real confused about all the things on the phone. It looks so strange in the first place. But when I tried to open an email that had a picture in it, I thought this morning I couldn't get it. And I never found it again. So I
Okay.
didn't know if I just lost it or I don't know what.
Okay.
I couldn't get it back up.
Okay, so you had an attachment that someone sent you, a picture, and when you went to look at that picture on your phone,
Yeah.
you closed it, and when you went back, it wasn't there anymore. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Do you think there's a possibility that you may have deleted it? You know, you can swipe and delete something.
I usually don't delete anything because I'm afraid to. But
Well, do
if
you...
you're in the cloud, if you don't, I went to look at the iPad and at my computer to see if it was there.
That's a good move. Yeah.
But it wasn't there either. But I know I didn't delete it because I don't delete anything.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
if it just disappeared, there are a couple of possible explanations. This is kind of like solving the X-Files. It could have been designated as junk after you saw it. That's happened to me. I bet it's happened to everybody here where you look at an email and all of a sudden it just disappears. Like, what in the world? Where'd this thing go? I was just looking at it. And that's happened to me. If that happens, the first thing I want to do is I want to go and look at deleted messages. So I'm going to go back to the front page of my email. You know, like, okay, so here I am in my email account. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at all my accounts. And I'm going to scroll to the bottom down to actual accounts. And I'm going to go into one of my accounts, let's say the Gmail account, and I'm going to go look around. I'm going to search around. Well, did it go into the trash? And I'm going to look and see if there's any trash. Did it go into junk? And I'm going to search around in there. I'm going to keep digging down. I have no idea what that junk might be that shows up there. So I'm going to dig around and see if I can find it. But notice also that there's another junk down here. So sometimes there's deleted messages, especially in Gmail. We have many different folders to contain things that have been thrown away. So I'm going to dig through those and see if I can find it. The mail should not just disappear. Oftentimes it might accidentally move to another folder. But even if you delete it, it should be in the trash folder. Or if it was marked as junk, it should be in the junk folder.
All right. I've got another question unless somebody else wants to jump in.
Take it. What's your question?
Because when I was asking Google about something, I don't even know what the price I was on, but it was asking me again for the 3 verifications of Google, and I don't understand that. Why there 3 passwords, right? When I ask it something, it says, what's the verification code? And then I'll look in messages and there'll be 2 different verification codes.
Okay.
I don't know what they're talking about.
All right. So I'm going to take a couple steps back, and I'm going to kind of ramp up to answer your question. With these Google verifications that you're talking about, let's make sure that you're not confusing them with other accounts also that also verify through questions. So the two most common occurrences here are when you use a Gmail account or you use an iCloud account. So Apple, when you work on an iCloud account, Apple now says, "Oh, we got to ask you 3 questions. What's your, what's your birthday, and where did your parents meet, or what's your favorite city, or where did you go on your last vacation?" They have all these list of questions. Now, oftentimes people will answer those questions, forget those answers, and then weeks later or a year later, they're in their Gmail account and they're working, and Gmail says, "Answer these questions for us." And people think about the answers from the Apple questions that they were answering, and they apply them to the Gmail questions. So it's important to know which account you're in and write these down and hide them somewhere. But what happens with Gmail, if you're trying to make a change, like maybe you want to change your password, what Gmail does now is, a year ago or so, they may have asked for your phone number. And you gave them your phone number. And oftentimes when you log into www.gmail.com, before you actually get to your mail, they say, "Hey, why don't we give us your phone number?" And you can skip that. People often do, but eventually we kind of all go, "Okay, here's my phone number. Now leave me alone." But they stored that phone number, and then when you want to make a change, they remember that phone number. And they want to make sure that you are who you are, and that I am not trying to get into your account. Some stranger's trying to get in, because a stranger's not going to have your phone, only you're going to have your phone. So Gmail then they say, "If you want to make this change, we're going to send you a text message with a verification code to your phone. You need to look at your phone, lady, read that number, put it in here, and then we will let you do some changes to your account." So here's the next thing that I see from people sometimes. They'll do that. They'll get the text message notification to their phone. They pick up their phone and they notice that they've done this before. And they look and they see that there are 2 notification messages from Google, because they did this like maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I have found that people that change their passwords a lot. And these people, they get into trouble with themselves a lot. And it happens to everybody. I mean, it's just, we do this, and so they look and they end up putting the wrong verification code into the website from their phone. They should have put in the one they just got in. Instead, they put the one that's underneath. Because, and if you look at this, check my phone out on the screen. If you go to messages, you can see that there are conversations with these messages here. So here is a conversation with this person. Well, Google sends you a text message, and I might even have some in here, and Google ends up being a conversation. So you click on that conversation with Google, and you have several different of the same, the same verification. So it can be really confusing. I don't know if I've answered your question or not, but generally,
That's where it comes, is messages, but I just don't understand.
well, the reason you just got sent a verification number of some sort, Imade, is because you went to Google. You went to gmail.com or google.com and you tried to log into your account and you want to make a change. You're asking to do something, and Google is saying, "Well, hold on. Before you make this change, we have to prove that you are who you say you are. So we're going to send you a text message, and you tell us what that text message says." So you're doing some sort of change. You're making some sort of change. Maybe you're trying to change your password, that kind of thing.
Well, if they send it in messages, where do you put the number?
In the web page. That's a good question. So if I go to a web page on my computer, so here I am at my computer, and I'm going to log into gmail.com. All right. Now, remember, there is a difference, and a lot of people don't know the difference. There is a difference between going to a web browser like Safari and going to www.gmail.com, the web page, versus going to the stamp on your computer. There are 2 different ways to check your email. I can check my Gmail from the stamp, or I can check my Gmail from www.gmail.com in a browser. You follow me so far on that?
I think so.
Yeah, I think you understand the difference between those 2, but the mail looks the same. So I want to log into my account, and I'm going to www.gmail.com to do that. and I'm signing into my Gmail account. Now, I don't have to sign into my Gmail account. I could just click the stamp. I'm trying to reiterate that over and over to understand there's a difference between checking your mail, but it's the same mail. So once I get in here, maybe I decide I want to change my password or I want to make some changes. So I go over to my account and I find somewhere in settings. I'm going to look around here in settings or something, or in my account, and I eventually land somewhere where I can make some changes. Let me see if I can find. Okay, here's my account there. Whoops. See if I can get in here. If it'll cooperate with me. There. Now I'm going into my account, and now I'm kind of in the account area. And let's say, hey, this is an old email address. I don't want this. Oh my goodness, that phone number, I don't even know what that phone number is. So I need to make a change. So I'm going to make a change to that. Well, let's see if I can go in security or somewhere that I can actually make a change. There's my number right there. So I need to make a change to that, change my password. Now, sometimes before I change my password, it may then send me a text message saying, give us this number. I look at the text message on my phone. It's called a verification number. It's probably a 6-digit number. It's exactly 6 digits, actually. I then take that 6-digit number that I look at on my phone and I type that in to the web browser, into the little box that they're asking me for. Then it'll let me do whatever it is that I wanted to do. All right?
I think Apple Mail is so much simpler than going into Gmail.
I like it better too. And I don't know if you noticed this.
Never going into Gmail.
I don't know if you noticed this, Joan, but I'm going to bring up a recapitulation here, which in music terms means going back to the beginning of the song. Remember the first question you asked was the Facebook link or one of those questions? Watch this. I'm in a browser, all right? Now, it happens to be Gmail. Doesn't matter what. I'm going to go and I'm going to click on this link right here and watch what happens. Now, notice at the moment I have a back button. See, I have a back button right now. I could go back because I've gone a few pages. Now I'm going to click on this link and watch what happens, Joan. It's opening it up into a new tab. And now I don't have a back button. See, it opened it up into a new tab, and there's the old tab. So Daryl nailed it. That might be what's going on with you. So there's the old one that I clicked on. There's the new one. There's no back button here, but here there is a back button. So that could be what was going on with you. But, yeah, sorry, Emma Day, what were you saying?
I don't understand why one has the back button and the other doesn't.
Okay. If you look here on your, and we were talking about this earlier just before you got here, Emma Day, but it should be pretty easy to understand. I mean, easy to explain. If I am, let me kind of bring this down here. As I go to a website, Emma Day, and then I click on another site within that site. So here's a horrible thing about CNN. Now I'm going to go to another site within CNN, if it'll ever load. Now I've gone to the next page. Now I'm going to go to yet another page, and I'm picking all these sad pages here, but I go to another page, and I keep going to another page. I'm building a history, Emma Day. I went from page 1 to the next page to a next page, and now I'm at this page. Therefore, I have a back button. I can go back to the previous page, and we all understand that. What I was pointing out to Joan is sometimes there are links on pages, and Joan found this out. Sometimes there are links on pages that when you click them, they open up into what's called a new tab. So if I click on a link like this link, and I hit the right side of the mouse, I have these options that I can do. I can open that link into a new window, or I can open it to a new tab. Now watch what happens first if I open it to a new window. Now I have a whole nother window over here that has nothing to do with the other window that I was on. And I don't like to do that because now I have two windows. But some people like to right click and say, don't open this in a new a new window, open it up into a new tab. Pad, that's a Freudian slip because this is about the iPad. So when I do that, look what happens up here, Emma Day. I have a tab here and I have a tab here. And these tabs mean different browsing stacks, we could maybe say. So over here is a tab and over here is a tab. You see the difference? I'll show you some. Oh yeah, it's kind of slow. I'll show you something that I use tabs for a lot. The most common thing that I use tabs for. And I love tabs. But I don't know how we ever use the internet or a browser before tabs. Here I am at google.com, right? And I want to search for rice and chicken. I want to cook some rice and chicken tonight. All right, rice chicken casserole. That's what I want. And here are all these links to chicken and casserole recipes. Are you with me so far, Emma? Now, in the old days, we used to have to click a link to a chicken recipe. We would look at that link and we'd say, I don't like that recipe. And then we would go to the back button and it would take us back. And then we would click the next one and we would look at this new recipe. And after finally the new recipe got there, we'd look at it, we'd decide whether we liked it or not, and then we would hit the back button and we would go back again. That is such a slow way of looking for things. So what I do instead is if I go to google.com, I'm going to show you again here from the very beginning, and I search for something like chicken and rice casserole, and I have all these links that just showed up. I'm not going to click on one and go back, and click on the other one and go back, and click on the other one and go back. What I'm going to do, Emma Day, is I'm going to hold down on my keyboard, I'm going to hold down the command key right next to the space bar. And if I hold that key down, when I click on a link, look up here at the top of the web page on my computer. I click on a link and watch what happens. Something just dropped down, and now I have a new tab that's opened over there. Now I'm going to click on another link. Is it not showing up yet?
No, Scotty, it hasn't been for at least 4 minutes.
Oh no, are you frozen?
I can't figure out what's going on.
Well,
Frozen for about 4 minutes.
the nice thing is I've got it all recorded and I'll post it up tonight. But I apologize for it being frozen. But I'll finish this and then I'll post it up. But I can hold the command key down and click on different links. And as I do that, it will open up into different tabs at the top of the browser, and I can click on all of these different tabs, and I can go through and look at the different recipes all at one time. I'll post this up onto the web, and I'll try to get it up tonight. I've been pretty good about posting them all, and then if you're interested, you can go back and actually look and see what I was doing. I apologize for the freezing. I don't know why it did that. It's probably on my end. But I'm going to get out of here for tonight then, guys, and I'll just catch you guys next week then. All right? All right. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Scotty. Good night, everybody.
Bye.